Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. This is going to be a good one today. I got a special guest, a good friend of mine, pretty much like family, Grandmaster Bram Frank. He returned. You guys loved him so much on the last couple of times that he popped in. So I wanted to have him back on again because he's just awesome. How you doing, Bram?
I'm very good, Vinny. Thank you. Yeah, Vinny's family. Vinny's my brother for many years and true family. And I actually got to see him a couple of days when we stopped in so I could give him a present.
Yeah, you gave me a great birthday present, which we'll talk about later as well. He's got some beauties, you know.
Nice.
He's got fantastic knives, trainers, all that great stuff. But yeah, we'll get into all of that. I know Chris, he's never met him before, but yeah, Chris Fisk, everybody.
Hey,
how you doing, pal?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome,
Sunday.
man. Awesome. Yeah. We also got Red Gaze in the house. This is my other brother from another mother.
What's up? How's it going, everybody? Having a great weekend so far. I hope you're doing the same.
Nice, man. Yeah. He's been doing great too. He's been fulfilling these amazing, fantastic books. Oh my God, just killer stuff. But we'll talk about that as well. What's still available, and we just had a closeout for Miriam and her book Bonds, which was yesterday. So just awesome stuff all around. But speaking of awesome, Bram, let the people who are here who aren't really aware of who you are yet. Well, actually, before we do that, let me just say hello to everyone while we get some more guests trickling in there, more people in the chat.
Got to make room for the trickle.
That's right, for the trickle. Yes, first. Oh, yeah, man. Thanks for being here. Keely's here as well. Mogwai, what's up, brother? He remembers. He knows who Bram is. Nano Reaper, he also popped in. We're gonna have to spend more on guns and ammo. Pretty soon. Storyman Jack also in the house. Hello. But Bram, let the people know exactly who you are and kind of how you got into the arts and then into the martial arts.
Okay. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen, because of COVID, no one pays attention to anyone. Everyone started doing Zoom and online.
Yeah.
So I decided, because I was trying to, I was going from inside the house to outside the house where I've set up a dummy. And one of my students said, "You're in so many places, you must be a clone." And I said, No, I'm not a clone. I'm a Cylon skin job. And that led for, because Tom Gallows, he goes, No, you're really like that robot in Men in Black. You open up and there's little alien and you're transporting around. I said, No, I'm more like the cyborg. And I went, oh. So, and I inspired Doug Marcaida for all his crazy stuff, because Doug Marcaida, Forged and Fire, is a good friend. But anyways, and Vinny knows, you guys understand, the cyborg Bram comes out, and T13, I have I put on fake robot skin, and of course I found that sort of like being the fool in a court, the court jester. Bram as a cyborg can say whatever he wants. Anyway, so I come out with all these different personalities to try to do whatever. And some of that all comes. So when you said, who am I? I'm not sure anymore. I'm either one of the cyborgs, a Nexus, a clone, or, like from Zotha's Babylon 5. the one
You
of the
sound,
best.
you,
Yeah.
you sound like me and all my personalities every time I do those impersonations of Jones,
Yeah.
Fouch,
Yeah,
Harrison.
and and I already drank it, but the goof is if I don't come out to prove I'm one of the Bram collected with the Cafe Cubano, which I already said, that it's obviously not me. But I'm an old guy. I'm 68. My dad, my late stepfather, is the late Robert Gould, the artist illustrator, and because he was part of the whole art scene and he worked at GE, artists didn't make art and make money back then. They had real jobs. My dad was a designer and engineer, and at GE he worked with Charles Schultz and Walt Kelly of Pogo. So when I was a kid, I always had that stuff around the house, and people go, "Oh, that's so cool! You got to meet them." I said, "I had no choice. They're friends of my dad." And Vinny knows,
Yeah.
my dad didn't want me to do comic art. That was really bad, and so I would run away to Marvel and to see Jack Kirby and stuff, and my dad would come collect me and go, "You will not do comic art." Later in his life, he changed a little, but he loved Frank Frazetta because he said that's sort of real art. And that's how I've maintained a friendship with the Frazetta family, and go up to the museum and see Frank Jr. and Laurie and stuff. And not because I got to meet Frank Frazetta out on my own. My dad was friends with him. So, Peter Clark, Bud Riley, Rene Dubois, all the guys who were part of the art scene. I grew up being the little kid in their life classes. So I got to see, naked women meant nothing because there was always naked people in front of me. And the oldest, Bram, draw them when they're dressing and undressing. That's the best part. And I learned to do speed drawing because, you're taking their clothes on and off. And once they're naked, they're naked. Who cares? Which later on in life taught me about lingerie and how cool lingerie is because your imagination's got to do something.
Exactly. It's the
But,
tease.
Yeah. And so part of what brought me up, because it's like even my mom worked in the school system, and you guys may know Wolf Wenton. He's a physics scientist, but he also was a sci-fi writer on the side. And one of his friends, because they lived around the corner, and Ruth Wenton, Wolf's wife, worked in the school. She was the head librarian, and my mom was the chief psychologist in the school. So one of his best friends was Isaac Asimov. So I got to meet people. Oh, that's cool. I said, I was just a little kid who read books. Good Mensa kid. If you guys know what Mensa is, I'm sort of, Dr. Brown crazy like my uncle, and so is my mom. But anyways, and as a little kid, they introduced me to Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard, and E. Doc Smith. They used to leave books in my mailbox because they only lived a few houses down, and they had everybody's name in them. And of course, as a young kid, I was only like 5th grade. I was so excited to be part of this adult club of books rather than with all the artists and my dad. And, I took some of my books and signed them. And after I read and signed you sign every book as you read it, I actually, my bicycle, brought them back over to Wolf's house and gave it to him. He said, Bram, keep them. But, little kid, I want to be part of the club. No, you got to take the books back.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, I never should have given back the books with all those different authors' signatures in them. But anyways, they turned me on. And the first book I ever read from Edgar Rice Burroughs was A Fighting Man of Mars. So they turned me on to something that has martial arts, swords, and knives. I mean, that's what Edgar Rice Burroughs is.
Right.
E. Doc Smith, that's the great space operas, And of course, you got the Lensmen and using their brains. And of course, science has advanced so much, sort of like Dune, they have to use space axes and blades again because ray guns don't work. They got shields for it. Yeah. And of course, Robert E. Howard. I mean, Conan and Solomon Kane. Well, they put me back in my element. And I loved archaeology. Vinny knows I like armor and dinosaurs. The rest of it doesn't matter to me. But all of that fed my imagination as a little kid, because my dad, going to art school, I mean, I'm going across the whole place here a little bit.
That's all right.
He grew up working in the art museums, restoring paintings and restoring artifacts. In the back of them, a lot of famous paintings from the colonial period actually had Japanese prints crammed in the back. Chinese prints, because they're made out of rice paper and they absorb moisture. So they had no regard for Asian art back then. So, you know, it was
That's
just,
insane.
so my dad, when he's restoring it, he would take this stuff out. And Vinny knows, I actually have 2 prints, you know, from like the 1600s from Japan of Musashi and a couple warriors up on my wall. And I grew up with them in the house. And that always inspired me. Plus, because I wasn't allowed comics, I snuck Thor into the house. My mom went, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's mythology."
Right.
That's supposed to deal with comics. So I, you know, all of that
Hell, brother.
got me into loving Arms and Armor, and all of those novels talked about super martial arts. They all did. So as a kid, I wanted to do martial arts, and Paul Van Stone lived around the corner, a few years older than me. He was one of the first guys I know who went to Vietnam, and I was in that first group of special forces. And he would come home in all his training and teach me on the front yard. My mom didn't want him doing it, but I loved it. And of course, he was so much bigger than me and older. He'd throw him around, but he would show me. And I couldn't wait to do it. So I was allowed, because we were very poor growing up. Like I said, it was, you know, those kind of times. I was allowed, you know, a couple books a year. And I found an old, well, for new back then, a book about martial arts from Nakamura that was woven bamboo. And I went, I got to have it. Back then, the book was $5. And my mother was aghast, $5.
Wow.
So I still have the original book and everyone
Yeah.
else, and it's worth a fortune now.
Oh, it's got to
But
be, yeah.
it was real Japanese book about, you know, step by step how to do it. I went, I got to do this. And then, you know, that because I'm a good Jewish kid, there was people doing the, you know, the JDL was to help protect all us Jewish kids from, you know, American neo-Nazis. And Alex Sternberg, who was a young rabbi, started Combat Shotokan and would come around and teach at the Jewish community centers. And so my first thing was, I went, Ma, look, this is to do what Grandma said to make sure it never happens again. I started studying martial arts. So I started in around 63. By 65, I was officially doing martial arts. And my mom knew eventually I'd get out of that phase. So, you know, it's one of the few things I never stopped in my whole life. Is
Yeah, you kept learning more and more styles.
Yeah.
You know, which is I think is pretty damn amazing. Oh, we got another guest. Hold on one second. We got Matt Fitzgerald in the house, man. How we doing, brother?
Hey, Vinny. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good, my friend. Yeah, well, welcome. We have a special guest tonight, Grandmaster Bram Frank, good friend of mine. He's more like family, but yeah, he's telling us his story of kind of how he got into he was born into the arts pretty much.
Yeah.
And telling us how he's got involved in martial arts specifically, which is pretty damn cool. But yeah, so what was the very first style? And then from there.
Well, I did Shotokan and what he called Combat Shotokan. And then I always, because my dad did painting restoration and both my parents taught at the universities. My dad did lots of stuff up at Yale and he actually taught Chinese and Japanese brush painting as he studied with some of the masters up there because he just loved the style. Because my dad, when he wasn't doing illustration type stuff, his favorite way to paint and not be frustrated, you know, his own release was, he was also famous for his watercolors of New England.
Yeah.
But anyways, so with this Chinese and Japanese brush painting, my dad, when he saw what he's doing, went, oh, well, that's Asian stuff. That's cool. So I found, long before anyone else found it, probably, I wanted to study, you know, Kung Fu, you know, Chinese arts. Of course, you know, brown guys aren't allowed to do that. And while I was pushing, Jerome Mackey opened up a series of schools and he'd come down and whatever the best martial artists there, he would have them teach while he opened the judo program. So you go to Jerome Mackey's and do anything. And they opened one within a half-hour drive. And they said they were going to teach Hungar, Southern Chinese art. And I went, that's what I want. Forget everything else. And I went there and they were teaching me Hungar. And, you know, I'm learning the style, doing whatever. And the instructor, about a year in, has a very bad car accident. And they bring in this little kid to take his place.
Right.
And, it's a time of bell bottoms and the big platform shoes, the high, and, the ball beetle haircut thingies. And this guy comes on and he couldn't care less about what we're doing on the floor. He sort of teaches it, snaps through. And I'm looking like he's just doing this for a paycheck, but I want to learn.
Right.
So he corners me in the locker room after everyone's left and goes, "You want to learn how to fight?" And I'm like, "What the hell do you think I'm learning Hungar for?" And he goes, "Stop me." And he comes right down. He bounces me off the lockers. He trapped my hand, smacks me around, and I go, "Oh my God, what's that?" And he goes, "You have to pay for regular class, and you have to bring me in from New York 2 times a week and pay me a full fee, and I'll teach you this, but you don't talk about it." I went, "Okay." So in class, I got to do the Hungar, and then I bring Steve back in, and I would do whatever this art is. And after a bunch of months, he goes, "You need a partner to beat on." So I take the number 2 kid in class, and I told Vinny's story. I sort of remember the kid looks like Bob Terenzio. Never been able to find them again. And I do the same thing. In locker room, I come up to him. Everyone else is gone. I said, "You want to learn how to fight?" And he goes, "What do you think we take Hungar for?" I said, "Really?" And I said, "Stop me." And I blast him out and I trap him up. He goes, "What is that?" I said, "I don't know. Not allowed to talk about it. But you have to pay Steve to come in." And he goes, "Oh, I just joined in the class." I said, "No, you got to pay Steve a full fee as well." So, Steve's making good money. But we start doing this. We do this for over a year. Hungar in public, whatever this is in the background. And, the Bruce Lee movie comes out. The first one in America was actually, that we got to see was Enter the Dragon. They made the big production. We're watching, and he looks over and goes, "Hey, we do that." And, of course, JKD back then is the bastardization. It's got a lot of Wing Chun in it. And we go, "Oh." And then we find out we're doing Hong Kong Wing Chun. Now, I want you to know, this guy said, "I have to get you ready." So we're talking about late 60s. So, he's making us smoke joints, or he's getting us drunk and goes, "You never know what condition you'll be in the fight." After a while, because I'm a sports guy, even though I have bad asthma, so my mom had made me swim. So I'm slim, but I got, I swim on the swim team, and I'm fairly competitive. And people quit picking on me because I could sort of fight.
Sort of.
Yeah. And I used to go to Chinatown. That's how I found out about dim sum. I'd meet Steve, and I was the only round eye at the Tiger Crane School, and they'd stare at me. And Steve's grandma used to make us big paper bags filled with what looked like jelly donuts to me, but they filled with scrambled eggs and ham and roast pork and all this cool stuff. And he took me to the movies, and the old Chinese kung fu movies back then in Chinatown. They'd start, of course, no English, no subtitles. The heroes come out and they do the full form of whatever it is they're doing. So what the Chinese all can recognize whatever they're doing. Then the movie starts. All that stuff's been cut out of the American versions. Oh, wow. It was so cool to watch these guys do their forms and do whatever. But again, I was the only round eye, and I knew that I had this bag of warm food to eat after I took the train into New York. And, and they all got used to seeing me. And later on, I learned I'd been doing Hong Kong Wing Chun.
That's amazing.
When that all closed up, I found Che Ri in our one town away, and Che Ri was Junri's cousin. So I started doing Taekwondo, Junri style. And then from there, when I moved out, I started doing Kempo. And I was doing Ed Parker style Kempo. And then I found Mid-America Karate, where I did back to Junri, American Karate, as they say, American Korean Karate, which they were the founders of the PKA, Full Contact Karate. And through them, friend of theirs came out. I met Clarence Murray. Clarence Murray is a Kabuto master. He had to come out to work at Control Data from Washington. And he did all sorts of weapons. That's what Kabuto is. And they didn't want that in the sport karate school. They knew I really wanted it. So while Clarence was there, I didn't take regular class. And to keep Clarence from contaminating the sport karate stuff, he was allowed to teach me. So I met this guy, and he made sound effects. Just like watching an animated movie. He's and I'm like totally amazed by this guy. And I studied with him for a year. I have I leave Minnesota, he leaves Minnesota, and many, many years later we hook up because the next guy I bump into is Remy Presos, the founder of Modern Arnis, which totally changed my life.
Oh yeah.
Because I became one of his personal private students, and I was with him for 21 years. But Remy would come out and make sound effects. And I was at this seminar, first seminar with him, and I'm way in the back of the room, and he comes through the room, you know, Red Sea like, everybody parts, comes up to me and goes, "You've done Arnis before?" And I go, "No." I said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, that's some of my Wing Chun and my karate." He goes, No, that is Arnis. My name is Remy, not Professor, not Grant. My name is Remy. What's your name? I said, Bram. He goes, Bram, I'm Remy. You're going to be my friend for life. I'm going to be your friend for life. And pulls me up front and starts to use me as his partner and beat me up. And that was the start of I never left Remy. But Filipino martial arts, which is really old-fashioned HEMA, historical European martial art. It's old Spanish fighting, conquistador fighting.
Yeah.
It never got modernized, and that's what's over in the Philippines because they ruled the Philippines for almost 400 years. So everything I wanted about being a knight in armor, to be in John Carter, to be in, Conan, to be, one of the lensmen, and, be one of the. He was teaching me weapons because everywhere else in martial arts, you do empty hand. And if you get it high enough up, they teach you how to use one weapon or two weapons, and it's totally different. In the Philippine arts, first thing, they put a weapon in your hand. I went, okay, this is cool. And he said, that represents a blade. Now, and Vinny will tell you, most of the guys that I've met my whole life, they know they use a stick. They have no idea. They don't understand it's a blade. Well, Remy, because I love blades. I've had a knife in my hand since I've been 4 years old. My grandfather gave me my first knife and said, keep it sharp, keep it oiled, keep it clean, and you'll give it to your grandchildren. I've always had a knife in my hand. I've always tried to figure out what a knife is. My dad always carried a knife. Both my grandfathers used knives. And, my mom's father actually did savate. So they had a cane and understood some sword work and, pointed shoes.
It's funny that you said that too, because I found out recently that my grandfather, a lot of people didn't know too much about. He also used knives, and he was one of the first special forces during World War I. Pretty amazing stuff from what we found out recently. There's a lot more detail, but I don't think I'm going to say it on this stream. But yeah, it is truly amazing. Everything that you kind of digested into what you did and what you created is really remarkable. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. So yeah, continue.
Yeah, Vinny, I sort of internalized all of it. So this guy told me I could do weapons and encouraged me. Told me the family art was really bolo. You guys don't know, a bolo is a big knife, and it has about a 14-inch blade, so it's not really a sword. And it comes from southern China, the Darn Daos and the Darn Hundaos. And what I found was, as he taught me, and Vinny would tell you, over time, I've internally encouraged me. Remy encouraged the people. How'd you get that? I said, it was already my interest. And all of that, again, between comics and the heroes doing stuff and the sci-fi, it just let me act out all that stuff. And of course, over time, I have patents on knives and how they function. I'm actually a full combat and military knife instructor. I'm the father of Israeli Filipino knife combatives. I'm considered the guardian of the legacy of bolo. I get to go back to the home country in the Philippines, and I teach them how to use bolo and knife.
It is truly amazing, man. Your career and your legacy, what you got here, is just incredible.
Well, and it's part of it. And you see, all of the people, a lot of people read the comics, and through you guys get to live a fantasy. I actually got to take the comic fantasy and my sci-fi fantasy, and someone let me live it out. And just so you guys know, when I first started, because my dad's an artist, my mom's, into art, she's the one who pushed my dad to make, like all wives, to make sure, or a good spouse. male or female, to make sure people continue their art.
Mhm.
You know, my mom found all the reasons I shouldn't do it because the old Japanese makiwaras, I'm going to ruin my hands. I'll never do art. My mom was so upset because Jewish kids don't go out and do martial arts. I said, what about Alex Sternberg? He's a rabbi. She went, he doesn't count. Good Jewish kid. You should be a lawyer, a doctor. And she used to go, you could always go back to school and do this. And she'd go, you have no patience. You never finish. Look at you. You never finished. Well, it took my mom to being in her 60s to 70s go, oh my God, there is no end to martial arts. I just got it. And, my mom was in her 70s when she started training with me.
Yeah.
I finally got it and went, I'm so proud of you. Look what you've done.
Mhm.
You've changed martial arts. And, the more I did patents, she liked all that I was inventing stuff. I'm blessed that I've been recognized, for a lot of the things I do, but it's all because of fantasy and using my imagination. I just applied it to life. I've never done anything else, but I cook and I paint and I draw and I sculpt and all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
But
yeah,
my idea of martial arts, I do Celtic designs using Filipino martial art patterns.
Oh,
Okay, and they're actually the fighting patterns of the Philippines, and I'm considered a living treasure in the Philippines because I do Filipino fighting motions into Celtic design and tell stories, and no one did that before. And
Where's Johnny Cage?
I can see the motions, So, anyways, all of that, because of comics and fantasy, I've lived out a life where, and Vinny knows, I deploy. The government deploys me to other countries and lends me to other countries. I teach good guys to get rid of bad guys. And I still teach Filipino martial arts. I teach law enforcement here. I work out of the S2 Academy for many years. I worked out of MacDill.
But you're also being very modest on this stuff too, because I know the type of training that you that you've done around the world, and it is amazing. Reasons why people are being saved and bad guys are being taken out is in good part because of your training. So yeah, you are a national treasure.
Well, I'm just blessed. I happen to be in the right place at the right time. I was at a big martial art festival in Germany with a couple very famous people, and with Grandmaster Dan Anderson, who's one of the greatest sport fighters, and also with Remy. He's my senior. He got me into modern harness, a few months after he got in. And but we're at this place, and the Germans are bragging about what they do, and Dan goes, your instructor is not a fighter. He's a technician. He goes, no, he's a fighter. And Dan goes, no. I'm a fighter. I've been a top 10 fighter for many years, and I've won, I fight. I fight in the ring. Don't tell me about your guy's not a fighter. And I was there with a few of my guys from the German Ranger Battalion or whatever. And of course, they're all in their pajamas, and I'm in tech gear. And they go, well, you're a fighter, and our guys would take. Goes, what the hell is Bram? He goes, no, he doesn't fit in our group. He goes, see, those guys, they're the warrior group. They're the combative group. He goes, you're worse. He goes, no. They don't have rules. I have rules in the ring, and even worse, you guys are technicians. You know how to do technical stuff. You don't. And they got all pissy about it until they got in my class, and they'd go to block, and I go, what are you doing? Instead of blocking, he said, I'm going to pin that hand right to your face. What do you mean you're blocking? You don't block a blade. Anything that's in front of this, I'm going to cut. You stick a hand out, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to turn the fingers into fingies. R and S are going to be on the floor. Done. And they said, you're kidding. And it took the Germans to talk to my guys from the German Ranger Battalion to come back and go, sir, we didn't realize what you did and who you were. I said, well, some of it is need to know, and as Vinny knows, some stuff I don't talk about. If you guys who brag about where they've been and what they do, they weren't there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
another reason why I know that you're very humble, because I just you are a hero out of these novels and stuff, and it's amazing, and it's really funny too, because I've heard a number of different stories from these kind of encounters where people, they don't know who you are, they don't even suspect what you could do until when they find out, and then they find out who you are. Then the apologies come flooding over.
Yeah. Well, I had some guy tearing me, some troll, cyber troll, tearing me apart.
Frankie's in the house.
And some of my guys who are now retired popped up. I mean, they didn't have to, and said, "You have no idea who Mr. Frank has taught." And he goes, "We're some of those guys who you don't know he taught, and he taught us to get rid of bad guys. So you can be a troll on here and have the ability and badmouth these people. But our job that he taught us to do." And, you know, part of the thing is, it's like the guys who make the implants and they actually did the surgery and people were all aghast. The surgeon do it, but the engineers for the companies did, because the surgeons know what to do. I'm blessed that when I get sent somewhere or be with guys, I get to go out and do ride-arounds with them and show them what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom used to gather with Thomas. She'd go, where have my two sons? When Thomas's mom died, very nasty cancer death, almost 30 years ago, my mom adopted him, and he's always with me. He's my senior student. Mm-hmm. My mom used to go, "Tell me the list of countries you've been to and what you've done." And I sometimes would tell my mom some of the stuff. And my sister, who Vinny knows is a real nasty, wicked witch alcoholic, used to say, "Bram's lying." Mm-hmm. And she actually got in the it told DOD not to talk to me. And DOD went, "Who is this strange person telling us not to deal with you?" And my mom didn't know, so I asked permission. I put together a book of, like, I've been in public as a martial artist for my knives in hundreds of magazines around the world. Mm-hmm. So I printed those up. DOD allowed me to do these big spiral bound books where I, print the stuff on my printer. And I gave them to my mom and said, "This is your son. Mm-hmm. They have to stay here, but here's some idea of what I have done. Because of this whole, I want you to know I didn't make this up." I said, "If there's details missing, it's because there's detail missing." When I turned 65 and I had to go to, was going to get my Social Security, all the women in the office, and I mean no offense to them, didn't know what to do. Because I have this blank spot of years that are missing because I wasn't here technically.
Yeah, you again, you weren't allowed to talk about what you.
Right. So they don't know what to do. I'm trying to explain this, and this gentleman sits down, looks like he's my age, and leans over and goes, "You have a blank spot of like 15 years that there's no record of you at all." And I said, "I don't know what to say." Mm-hmm. Leans over and goes, "You're an expendable." And I went, "Well, yeah, sort of." Because when it came to it, no one would support me. No one would I can't, And the guy goes, "Let me fix this for you." He goes, "Don't worry." He goes, "Your Vietnam era with me." He goes, "Where'd they send you?" I said, "Wherever they wanted. I get lent out." And he goes, "I know. I can tell because there's no record of you." Because if you were doing regular things or just not paying attention, there'd be some record. He goes, "You just don't exist." And I had a tax guy said, "I'll fix this for you." Come back and go, "Bram, there's no record of you." And I went, "I know. I thought you would fix this." And, over time, working with a spook attorney from DOD, of course, we've gotten things sort of straightened out. But it's really weird because people don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
And I still have teams that are over there. And like Odessa Ramos, one of my senior masters, who the knife I gave you, I named after her, Odessa.
Oh, yeah.
Odessa. And she's a San Gut master. Mm-hmm. So this is off a Filipino San Gut. This is actually the fixed blade version is the official tool from her husband and her teams in Afghanistan of the German Ranger Battalion. And, so Odessa's still out there in Iraq and traveling to Afghanistan and working, she trains the Kurdish women to get rid of bad guys, to get rid of Daesh, ISIL, whatever you want to call those people. And Vinny knows part of my job, all my years in Israel. I've been in Israel since 1973. My family's been there since 1918. Mm-hmm. I'm blessed that the people I've taught that over the years of bringing knife to Israel and to the teams there, I was named by different people there. And it was a nice award that, I'm the father of Israeli Filipino knife combatives because they didn't use knives there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, yeah. You have plaques all over your home of just like from all different places, awards out the ass. It is damn impressive. And and just these designs too that you've done. This is what do you have? Like close to 24 different designs now
Yes.
of blades. And again, trainers, stuff like that. He's been, and more locally, in the United States, he's been helping out with officers and things like that. In fact, hold on, I just dropped it in the chat as well. So if you guys are curious about some of the knives and where you could get them, the link is there. But I'm gonna share screen now as well, so you guys can get a good look at his site here, and kind of what's available as well. But yeah, it's really, really amazing products. And again, he designed these himself. So much work went into each and every one of these designs. It's like on another level. But yeah, hey, Brian, if you want to tell him a little bit more about,
Okay. Well, most knives, especially folders, sit tip up in your pocket. Mine are designed because I believe in full force continuum of tools that you can pull them up and they come out of your pocket, and they're actually a ball peen hammer, and you can hammer with them and hit. And I like the idea of using energy, sort of kinetic stored energy. And I got the idea because when I was a kid, my grandfather used to play cards down in the subways, which are bright, clean, and white when I was growing up. And his friends, they'd sit down there and they gave me a bag of tokens, which are about half a penny a piece. And I love the turnstiles. You put them in, then the old ones with the levers. And if you push them too hard, they jam. They push them, they'd spin around and hit you in the butt. And if you hit them really fast and smooth, in fact, and it always hit me. And I liked the idea, which gave me the idea for the Bramp that I could reach out. And if you touch it, it opens. So the idea is I can be in hammering. I can be in a non-lethal mode. I can ball peen my war hammer, like a knight in armor. I can hammer you. I can grab a digit. I can rake with it. I can pinch with it. But if I touch you, I don't have to, it'll open. Forward or reverse grip. And so I patented that. People went, oh, that's pretty cool. And I also have friction opening that I maintain, that I maintain a grab so I can have it. I like the idea going forward to reverse grip. And we always called it, we had an indexing point. That's what we called it. There was no point. So I actually made indexing points and patented the world's first flat clip with a spoon in it, because the spoon pulls you to that point. So you never take your hands off the tool to go to forward reverse grip. So I can come up, hammer you, pop it open, go right to reverse grip, trap it, go right back to a forward grip. And if you guys are shooters, I make firearms ergonomic tools. So it holds like firearm, and your lock release in the back, is where your decock or your mag release would be. So I can see when it's out of battery, unlike any other knife. And I can use a decock motion to bring it back in the battery. I can cock it back, or I drop the magazine and go right back to a ball peen hammer. So I incorporate the ideas of martial arts in the Philippines into it, that I can go from non-lethal. You guys probably know Pac-Man, waka, 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 waka. Well, I can, with the Bramp, I can do less than lethal snap cuts or decision cuts.
Right.
I can, at that point, go to lethal and still use it non-lethally to redirect. And unlike other knives, I can shut it back down in the flow to non-lethal. And I just grab a live blade. When I was little, my dad taught me to cut wire. I know that sounds like it's totally left turn at Albuquerque, but it's not. And I cut the casing of the wire, with those little knives, and I cut through all the fibers. When I had enough pieces, because I screwed it up, my dad taught me soldering. So there's teeth on here. I make the only knives with proud liners, meaning the liners stick out past the scales. And you can put something on here, and you can actually control your cut and cut to a set depth and not cut all the way through, because you can see there's a hole there, and I can cut to a depth. Or I can use it like a pair of scissors and cut right through it, so that I can use it like a tool. The other thing is, because of the Bramp, a lot of people get in the back do skinning or delicate work. You got to get, I'm doing a cheating, up on the blade, and you can slip. Well, your arm rotates in a longitudinal. It doesn't like to do it. It's hard to hold in your hand. So if I put my finger on the Bramp, well, now I can do controlled cutting, do delicate stuff with the tip, and do fillet work. And I can control it because it rolls in my hand. And I can't accidentally slide on the blade. And that's actually what the Bramp does too. I can't slide up in reverse grip. It locks in your hand. You can't, so you have control. So it allowed me, and like from sword work, I make the only one with a solid pommel in the bottom. So like a sword, the pommel takes the weight away from the blade so that the blade's lighter because the rotation is now in my hand. So, little things like that, I decided to do. Like the one that Vinny has, everyone's probably seen karambits, and they all work like this, and people popping open their pocket. Well, mine comes out like all of mine, with a ball peen hammer. And that once it's open, you can have what I call high grip way down. I know, high grip. Okay, if I put it in reverse grip, that's how we got the high grip. Oops, sorry. I can have an extended grip, or I can actually have a full grip, and I'm not in the ring. And that finger sticking out, which the finger mimics the back of the regular tool and a Filipino bolo, allows me to do trapping, to do pressure point striking, open or closed. And again, the coolest thing is that if I touch you, it's open already.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too. And for people who are unaware, the red ones that he has, those are the trainers. So that's why it doesn't have there's no sharp blade on it. That way you could practice the proper way. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys are shooters, red guns don't shoot. So we use red guns. And the Glock is the one who started that. If you have a red gun or a red knife, I try to bring firearms safety into this. So my crimp tool, which is blue, is a non-cutting, non-lethal impact rescue tool. And that's like a Glock sim gun. It's not a safe trainer. And any other color is live.
Yeah, it's truly amazing what you've done. And again, like what you're doing with all these things too, it's killer. So yeah, if anyone is looking for any kind of new blade for whatever reason, hunting, martial arts, self-defense, whatever it is.
Yeah, or artwork. The late James Spratt, who was a sculptor, loved using my knives for doing his wax carving before he got ready to do his, bronze and silver pouring, because he could control the tip and do delicate work. I get guys who work on Broadway, and they use my tools because they can hammer nails, strip wires, do whatever, and it's their mini Leatherman tool without having a Leatherman tool.
Yeah, it is amazing. I told you too. Like I built my light box with your knives, like the way I had to cut them in order to fold the box up and everything.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I don't make fighting knives. I make edge tools.
Yes,
I expect people to use them. And, I make EDC, everyday carry, and I make a magnum size and a standard so that they fit. And I have 8 classic blade shapes, plus the Desungut and the Miso, where I take classic swords and translate them, Bramize them into folders. And as Dana Abbott, Mr. Katana, says, I make the world's only folding katana. And Mike Searson just did an article for Recoil Magazine, showing all the tantos, which are modern tantos with the extreme angle cuts, and goes, Bram makes the only, he calls it his katana, but it's the only real tanto because it looks like a samurai sword. And I worked with, the guys from the samurai sword factories and the custom makers to learn how to make it. So I make a true folding in your pocket katana, and I do make a modern tactical tanto as well.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're brilliant.
But Vinny, if I was not a comic guy and a sci-fi guy, none of this would have come true because I wanted to bring the tool and the stuff that goes on, into everybody's pocket.
Of course, dude. And that's the genius of all of this stuff. It's art that got you to do all of it. And we met at a convention, and you were the one who was telling me, like, that you knew all these artists, who your father was, and I was like, holy crap. And then you started talking about, oh yeah, I got some blades and stuff. I'm like, well, wait, who exactly are you aside from security here? And he said, oh, well, I just, well, you look really
Vinny
familiar.
Vinny was just at the house. I went up to see Frank Frazetta when I was an adult, right after his second stroke, to see him and Ellie, because I hadn't seen him in a long time because of the family.
Yep. And
you guys all know that, Ellie ended up passing before Frank. But while I was up there, I got to meet Frank Jr. And, they said, oh, you brought the next generation. And Vinny knows that Frank Sr. actually took he had done 7 versions of the Egyptian princess on a silk paper. So he looked at me and said, in honor of your dad, we'd like this. And it was Melanie's, my ex-wife and best friend, her favorite thing. So he took it off the wall in the museum and basically gave it to Melanie. We paid for the frame. That was it. And Melanie has an original Frank Frazetta, which actually went to my daughter. And I got Melanie the statue that goes with it, and the eerie and the creepy that go with it. And she's got it as a set. And well, that's a whole nother. So that's always been, and I've always stayed in contact. And to keep the museum going after, I've stayed in touch with Frank Jr. and with Lori. Mm-hmm. And I showed him, I actually have, for my birthday, 2 different sets of prints that come from the museum, which are custom Frank Frazetta printed on canvas. And then Frank Jr., who used to finish his dad's work, actually, they're retouched up and painted on top of them and signed them in the back. And I'm a John Carter freak. So I have a limited edition John Carter statue. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Oh, yeah.
And, and
the painted print back there.
Yeah, with
the print was actually painted by Frank Jr. And I'll just sort of sweep it over here a little bit, So the Escape on Venus is also hand painted on top by Frank Jr. That's just obviously a limited edition copy of the real one that's at Melanie's house. And, Frank Nagel, Sean Nagel, I have originals. They're not production models.
Yeah, the sculptors,
he's one of my students. Mm-hmm. So that has cloth cape and real armor because that was the basis for what he was going to do. And I collect first editions, and I have. I'll show you guys this stuff up here closer. And so these are first, Edgar Rice Burroughs first editions and limited editions and of course my Wiley and my full size stick, and there's a life size Cheshire Cat, and there's all these Wile E. Coyotes hanging in the back, and
it's like a museum of just awesomeness, and then and then all those blades and stuff.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you muted yourself, Bram. I can't unmute him for some reason. Bram, you muted your laptop.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
It flipped out. I tried to catch it. Anyways, so the Buttermills are actually Muppet buds I used to do for High Times, and I got to meet Jim Henson, but he passed before we did it. So I'm a little bit weird. So I
That's
have a
good though.
It's a good kind of weird because, like I said, man, you've done so much.
It's a real John Carter sword. There's only 7 of them in existence. And my nephew, who's 9, walked in here and said, "Uncle Bram, is that the sword that's in all these pictures?" And I went, "Actually, yes." No adult ever asked me.
Yeah, I told them too on my last stream about that, and how sharp that sword actually is. That when they were shipping it, just the normal weight of the blade, how it was packed, was cutting through the styrofoam and the wood.
Yeah. When I first mounted it in the house, I put it on one of those wooden stands that has the foam mounts to protect it, and the weight of the blade was cutting through it as it sat there, which is why I have it in those protective hands now, because they're a polycarbonate poly resin, so it can't cut it. And of course, the hand's holding one and the other's just sort of resting. But it was from the late Jody Sampson.
Just impressive on every level, man. You're such an interesting guy, and just
what they don't, Vinny, they don't know how much. The other part is that my house is filled with Vinnie artwork. Of course, it's all signed because I love Vinnie's artwork.
Hell yeah.
Vinnie's so freaking cool. Vinnie, I thought of something today. Remember you said, think of something? We don't have any John Carter art from you. We need a John Carter fighting a Green Martian with a typical Vinnie version of Egypt Horus.
Yeah.
No clothes on. But, you're the boner man. You ought to make a really sexy.
Yeah. I was supposed to do some stuff with that company, and I was waiting on it, but I don't know if it fell through.
Well, John Carter is public domain.
Oh, I know. But like, if I was going to get paid for it as well.
Oh yeah, but I'll bet you
That's why I was waiting.
I bet you people from the Edgar Rice Burroughs groups online, and there's lots of them. I bet you they'd all or anything that you did of John Carter and Green Martians and Deja Thoris wearing almost nothing.
Yeah.
Giggity.
You know.
Well, again, when I'm done with this pirate book, I'm going to be doing more tutorials and stuff as well. So it's possible I'll be doing some more really, really cool stuff, fan type artwork here or there. But I'm making my own kind of universe right now. That's why I haven't been doing too much fan artwork or things like that. But
I know. I'm just sort of hinting in the back.
Oh, I know, and it's not like I don't want to do it. I do want to do it. It's finding the right time to. But and that could definitely be an awesome thing and a lot of fun for sure. That stuff is really cool. But yeah, I saw a comment earlier. Someone mentioned if you ever trained with Steven Seagal. Like, obviously it was a joke. It looked like, but I do know that
I've met people who know him very well. He's he lives in Russia now, and because I teach some of the teams there, and I'm in and out of Russia, I've been trying to meet him there to talk to him, because Samuel Kwok, Grandmaster Kwok of Wing Chun, is very good friends with him, because Samuel Kwok is good friends with Cynthia Rothrock. And Cindy's not only very sexy and wonderful, she's a great martial artist and quote unquote a B-grade kung fu movie star.
Yeah.
So she's really friends, and he's one of the few people I have not actually met. I'd like to.
You did have an opportunity. You work with one of Bruce Lee's best friends, Danny Inosanto.
Yes, absolutely. He is one of the best instructors in the world, and I'm blessed that some of the first generation under him are very close personal friends of mine. Guru Dan carries my knives. I'm blessed that he's let me teach on his floor. And Remy, who was Guru Dan Sr., Remy sent me to Guru Dan with a message. That's how I got to meet also Junie Kanyente. Junie just passed, and his uncles like Kakoi Kanyente, the guys from Cebu. Oh, you guys don't know. I'm in and out of the Philippines all the time, and I'm actually married to a Filipina, and we have a home in Cebu. And of course, I haven't seen her for 2 years because of COVID. But
that is just
the Filipino martial arts, and you've seen them in all the movies now. A lot of the movies, the actors, Dune. The Dune movie, they're doing Filipino martial arts. John Wick is Filipino martial arts. The Bourne series, he's doing Filipino. People, what's that cool? That was Filipino martial arts. It all ties together. It really does.
Yeah, dude, it is amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, again. The links for Bram's knives are also in the description. So if you are unaware of it, now I put the link in before in the chat. So if you want to help out too.
If you want free downloads, obviously I'm on YouTube. People have me all over YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I don't know how to use it like Vinny does, but my students have them in lots of places from other countries have me up there. But at bramfrank.pivotshare.com, I have lots of free downloads of seminars for military and FMA that are free. I have some you can buy, some you can rent, but you can actually see me up there and see what I do, or what I'm allowed to say that I do. I snuck some of the military stuff up there because I'm sort of disappointed that they left me, not the military, but the government and the people over them left me out to dry, which they did for a bunch of us. But, again, you guys have no idea. All of you artists and, Vinny and the whole group, you guys, you're influencers. Without Marvel Comics, without DC Comics, because I've had comics my whole life, without sci-fi, with all the illustrators, of which my dad fits in, you guys affect the whole culture. I am a product at 68 years old of comics, sci-fi. I mean, Forbidden Planet's one of my favorite movies, and I used to watch in the WR9 in New York. Where they played the same movie 7 days a week, as many times as it fits in a day. I used to drive my mother nuts, my grandparents nuts. When my grandfather got his first color television, you change all the colors on it, it gets all weird. I watched Forbidden Planet endlessly. And I watched all the, Universal horror movies. And of course, any kind of sci-fi I could get. Did I mention Forbidden Planet? One of my favorite movies of all time. But all of that, you guys are the ones, comics and sci-fi and martial arts affected my whole life. And so if you guys ever wonder if you affect readers, I know it affected me. And I'm sure you guys, with all your art and everything you do, you're creating people like me. And, God bless all of you for being so creative.
That's one of the things, and you're very kind. That's one of the things that I always did love about the convention scene. It's seeing the families, seeing people just come over and just telling me how much like they love the work or the books and all that kind of stuff. That always was a drive for me, a driving force. Why I want to keep doing this, because everyone goes like, Vinny, like, well, why do you do so much by yourself like that or whatever? I have a certain look to my work, to my style,
Absolutely.
And I just want to make sure that whatever products I get out there, more of the stories, more different worlds that I'm creating, I want people to be completely invested in them, that they want to be taken to this different place, away from the madness of what's going on right now today, and get sucked into a good story, and care about the characters and trying to figure out where they're going to go in the next issue or the next story,
Yeah. And all of you play an important part. And Vinny will tell you, I'm a big supporter of artists in general, and of course, comic art, which at the end, I know my dad, short story about Joe Kubert. My dad was happy with him till he did Enemy Ace. I come from a Jewish family. My dad, we weren't allowed to have German products in the house. And my dad at that point went, I wasn't allowed to have, he collected my Enemy Ace and all my, anything that didn't do with Germany, he threw them out. He went, we won't talk to him anymore. I went, how can you do that? He's just being an artist. And I used to have, I loved World War I fighter planes. So of course, being Rick talks and all that, I loved the flying circus. I loved what the German aces did. Boy, that started a war in our house. But, so I love Joe Kubert work, and I'm glad he did all the Tarzan stuff because I have all that collected and stuff.
I was lucky enough to meet him as well, and everyone knows the story. He was going to get me work with Marvel. He loved my samples so much, and then Quesada stole those samples. He got handed them by the other Joe, and that's what he does instead. Like to me, it's mind-boggling. But
it's not fair. Life. My mom used to tell me life is not fair, and I watched my dad get screwed on art a lot of time and stuff. And some of the horror stories I've had in the knife world and the martial art world. I got people running around. I had one guy who handed out his business card to police and military and said, "Bram's retired. Call me instead." And I had a police chief call me up and go, "Bram, we would have held a retirement party for you." And I'm like, "A retirement party for what?" So this kid came to us and said, "We should call him, not you. You've retired." And I went, "I didn't retire." He goes, "Oh, I was at an ILFE, International Law Enforcement training session, and I see this guy in a suit walk by me. He stops, looks at my knife and my holster, and goes, 'Oh, I know the guy who invented that.'" And I'm looking, I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know you, but I'm Bram Frank." He goes, No, this guy Shucky invented it," which isn't the guy's name, but mispronunciation, but that's okay. I look over and go, "Oh, you mean my student I threw out for being dishonest? He didn't invent my knife." He goes, "Well, he tried to train us and he taught lethal force techniques that we can't use at our department." He goes, "He didn't invent the knife?" I went, "No." And I've had people try to steal my patents and do whatever, and it's horrendous. And I know they do.
I know.
It's like Frank Frazetta. You know how many stuff is actually in auction that people don't actually own, that were never artwork, never returned to him, and the originals are being sold for bunches of money, and his the family and the museum get none of it.
Yeah, it's disgusting to this day that they're still doing shit like that.
Yeah.
I know you told me the family they're a little bit peeved there with like Kurt Hammett and stuff because he got them through those other means. He didn't get them directly from the family.
Yeah, and the all the products that come from the Frazetta Museum, unlike the other Frazetta members, all the profits go to keep the museum alive and keep the legacy alive. You go, what's the big deal? I go, it is. And just so you know, when I went, everyone told me when the big company screwed me, they said they'll stop me from making knives, they'll blackball me. And Vinny knows I use old and other people to help inspire me. Well, Edgar Rice Burroughs, back then when he was first doing books, they told him nobody printed their own books. He said, I'm going to print my own books. And they went, you'll never succeed. You're done. And he went and bought a little farm called Tarzana and printed his first books. Now, watch out for collectors. His first series books aren't technically worth anything. For me, it spoke volumes to me that he started Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. print his own stuff, printed his editions, and I collected all of the Martian ones with original covers. Yeah. My mom said, what are you doing? I said, well, it inspired me because everyone told him he would fail and people didn't print his own books back then. And he went on to do it. And of course, the little farmer Tarzana became, the city of Tarzana, and he became a multi-millionaire. And of course, his books are printed in every language in the world. Yeah. Without Edgar Rice Burroughs, there's no Superman. There's no Star Wars. There's no anything. You take a guy from another planet, he's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. Oh, that's right. Without John Carter going to Mars and being able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, being stronger because of the different gravity, you have no Superman. And all that kind of. But anyways, it's
just the thought process and what people get inspired by is really amazing.
So my mom, it inspired me. And my mom goes, I said, yeah. So when the companies told me I'd never make another knife again, I used Edgar Rice Burroughs and some of that stuff as an inspiration of why I should on my own. Just so you guys know, I'm a five people that work in my factory. We hand grind these knives. We hand assemble them. They use only my designs. That's all we do. So I'm a very, very small business. And, Edgar Rice Burroughs doing his own thing, and people like that inspired me to go, I can do this.
Well, they are absolute masterpieces, every one of these things. And, at very affordable prices. Anywhere from around $100 to. Yeah,
the standards are $125. The magnums are $145. And if I try to do them here, it's why I work, most companies, we all work in China. We have factories there and we finish assembling here. And the only reason people get upset, just know big companies argue about profit. The Chinese are like any place else. They make some of the best swords. They can make anything. The only reason they make cheap products is the companies here in Europe say, make it cheaper. I want more profit.
Right.
It costs me a fortune. But when I made them here, it cost me, I had to sell them between $800 and $1,300 each to recoup my money. I've spent hundreds of thousands on patents, but I make knives that I'm willing to put my name on. And a couple of the magazines came out and said, these are the best made knives. They're better than knives made in America, Germany, Taiwan, or anywhere. Can't believe the quality of what you do. And of course, like I said, there's hundreds of magazines about it. Vinny's had some in hand. I make knives that are designed to be used, and they got my name on them. I believe in it.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we hand grind them, we hand make them, hand assemble them. It's my own proprietary G10. G10 is the material, the fiberglass material that's on the handle scales. And you guys may know Doug Mercida from Forge and Fire. He licensed my Bram and my, my lock. Doug, Bastian Bastinelli, Daraspina, there's a bunch of them who use my ideas. Fox Knives, because, I was able to be creative, and they went, "Oh my God, this stuff works." But I make quality stuff, just like you guys
do. Yes, like I said, I have dozens of them, and each and every one of them are absolutely spectacular, beautiful. I use them. I've used them on a bunch of different things as well, on certain projects. It is amazing. But speaking of amazing too, we got another great guest who came in. Adega Outlaw. He's in the house here. Hey, buddy, how we doing?
Hey, how's it going? Well, I didn't know I was going to be invited on, but
Yeah,
what you've been talking about, Bram, and the stuff that you have, I'm definitely sold. I'm going to be purchasing one of those.
Amazing.
Once upon a time, I did martial arts, but my body said we got to stop. So I'm an admirer more than a user at this point, but it looks impressive. And I've heard
what I do, because my body's destroyed. Vinny knows. From the outside, I may look okay. I've been also very sick, but it's never. But I did my martial arts system, which Remy said I supercharged the system. It's a methodology, and it's designed for people who have old people body. I call it old people motion because I make the tool do the work, and I make sure you'll survive your encounter because I don't cut heads, necks, torsos, genitalia. I don't want you to go to jail, and this stuff is a ball-peen hammer. But it works good for real tools. But please understand, if you ever did martial arts, I can show you a way to still continue. I'm almost 70, and I continue. I have lots of mileage in my body. Everything's been broken, cut, smashed, and whatever. But I even cut my fingers off. I had them put back on. They don't function quite the same. But, never stop doing it because it's something that inspires us to keep going. Because martial arts are one of the few things, like art, there is no end. You're never good enough. I try to learn something new every day, and transferring. I like to innovate and translate. So, believe it or not, my system is based on black, white, red, yellow, blue. You as artists will get that. When I first started to print stuff in color, we had to do color separation, and cheap stuff, comics, were dot matrix type things. Printed on cheap paper, and they used primary colors, and the way you got green was you had the blue and yellow dots next to, or orange was red and yellow, and then people go in the black outline. And over time, inkjet printing, which is the low end, is little dots. All you have is black, white, red, yellow, blue, and then laser printing is just micro dots. So I went, this works really, really well. Very cool. So, for me, there's three basic motions a human being can do. So, sets of motions, which is high to low because we're hinged, a low recovery, which is around your waist, and downward vertical. So that triangle I call 1, 4, 12 because I have a memorized system. The back side of that is 2, 3, 12. How do you get to the high line? How do you connect those two triangles? That's 1, 2, 2. So for me, red, which is in your face, then like Ferrari red and mist, the biggest, brightest color, that's the main motion. And biomechanically how we work. Blue, which is also very bright and everywhere like the sky, that's a second primary from a closed side. And, red and blue, the two primary make purple, which is the royal color. Well, what doesn't pop a lot is yellow, like the sun. So I use that as a connector. And I tell people, and any of you know the old televisions and comic artists, get this, black makes things pop. We outline with black. We use black as an accent to make everything go. When the old Sony Matrix televisions, when they first came out, when they first did a black background to put the colors there, so it beamed through a black pattern, Sony was the televisions that popped, the colors came at you. And so I tell people what I call perspectives of, are we right to right? Are we left to right? Are we left to left? Or are we right to left? That's black. And I use white, a tint that softens things. Are we both in forward grip? We're unequal. I'm in forward, you're in reverse. I'm in reverse, you're in forward, or we're both in reverse. And I use a color pattern to teach my system. So I still use what I learned about comic printing and comic art to guide how I teach my martial arts.
Which the thought process is it's mind blowing because, and that's it, right? It's the common sense self defense that you got here. And I remember when my brother started coming to some of the shows with me, and I introduced you to him, and you just showed him something real quick. You turned his arm into a pretzel like in less than 2 seconds. And you went, I just tapped the pressure points here and there.
Well, I used to. My mom couldn't believe what kind of klutz I was on land because I was very graceful in the water. And I've told Vinny this before. And the more I did martial arts over time, as I got older, my mom goes, "You're actually graceful on the land too." And I don't think about it because I can't see me. I want you to know, and you guys probably will get this. I have never seen one of my own videos. I mean, of course, I've seen it every once in a while, but when I film them, I see them. I don't see them in editing, and I don't see them. People go, "Sir, do you know what you've done in this section?" Actually, no. Do I have lots and lots of DVDs/videos? Sure. If I have seen them, no. Could I tell you what's in them? No. When people film me at seminars, do I see? No. Sometimes I catch a glimpse of me doing stuff, and I go, "Oh, I'm not as ungraceful as I thought." But
this Frankie, I remember
you
he
know,
made me look like Plastic Man.
yeah, well, I didn't think, Vinny, if you think about it, I've been doing martial arts for basically almost 60 years of my life.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, my third wife, Mary, she had come to me and she said, "I got this," because she was one of my students. That's how we had met. And she looks at me and goes, "This is not your hobby. This is not your job. I just got it. It's your life. When you drive, your hands are making motions. In bed, all of a sudden, you'll come up with an idea and do something. You're always training, teaching, or inventing something." And I went, "Actually, I guess so." It's me. And I cannot separate my heroes from me. John Carter is my ultimate psychological hero, and I want to be like John Carter. And when they say he's a total dork when it comes to women, I got it in love. He said it's an inverse ratio for him between how he deals with women and how he deals with war. And he's supposed to be the greatest swordsman of two worlds. I've always aspired to be that, and with tools, be a swordsman, a combat swordsman, not a show swordsman and stuff. And I take it seriously. And Vinny knows, my goal is not to be the world champion, not to be the toughest guy. I want to be the best instructor, the best teacher that it can be.
Yes.
But all of that came from reading those characters. And that's what I meant about the characters you guys invent affect us all, because John Carter affected my life. Kinnison, Kimball Kinnison, the Gray Lensman, affected my life. Conan, and of course Solomon Kane and Brackman Moore, but Conan affected my life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I acted out, and of course the comics that came from that.
Of course. Well, see, this is why I enjoy having you on as well, because it is that it's not just passion, like you said, it's part of your life, and that is what a lot of these books and properties that we're creating, what it is.
Yes.
It's the same exact thing to us. Chris Fisk here, his project, this is 30 years in the making. Dude, Chris, tell him again, like how you came up with this, and then how you eventually went, you know what, I'm going to make it a comic book.
Well, initially I was a severely dyslexic, illiterate kid, and I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, and that actually cured my literacy. Amazing artists like Larry Elmore, Clyde Caldwell, Keith Parkinson, Jeff Easley introduced me into, hey, look, you can judge a book by its cover. And I ended up reading up all the rules, and I got bit by the I can make a game bug too. And one of the kind of the aspects of tabletop role-playing that kind of bothered me was every story kind of devolved into this linear railroading the player's path of murder hobos. It's you go and do the same thing. You go and kill X, and you get the treasure. And when I started developing my own system, I took a portmanteau of Infinitale. It was more of a collaborative storytelling exercise. I mean, at the time, and still probably, I didn't really view myself as somebody talented enough to tell their own story, all by themselves. So I relied on players to basically complete the story. I would present them as a narrator, kind of the premise and the setting, and they would then kind of create their own kind of dynamic paths through solving these issues. And that was ultimately the first story for the Infinitale sagas. This first one, The War of the Trees, was started back in 1991, and it was played by a group of 13-year-olds. I think there's a few 12-year-olds and maybe a 14-year-old.
Mhm.
And yeah, the basically it's kind of based off of, but not really, an old Welsh poem, Cadgatho, the War of the Trees, which a lot of historians just are not. Nobody seems to have reached a consensus with it. So there's all sorts of little elements here and there that are worth or are able to be kind of manipulated. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to rip something off, I might as well rip something very obscure off, something that nobody has fully come to a consensus to. So the War of the Trees marks kind of that part of the whole fantasy Fey world, the Eldritch world, all that stuff. We all take it for granted, but this is more of their origin. The first book, Second Genesis, kind of marks that entry or the origin stories of the Fey world. And in the game, the actual world, the mundane world where the game takes place, is invaded by these people. And what we're seeing here is kind of a historical primer for that game.
Dude, that's amazing stuff. It really is. And like I said, I was really blown away when I first heard your story about that and how you were coming up with it and, you know, where it even came from. I was like, holy shit. See, these are people that, again, everyone who's on my panel, it's people who are working damn hard on things that they truly believe in. It's not just, oh, they came up with a half-ass idea and wanted to try to make some bucks. No, they are fully invested in what they're creating. And that, to me, is a beautiful thing, you know, all the way. You know, that is amazing. Chris, you had a question for Bram as well, didn't you? I think I missed it here somewhere in the chat.
I've got quite a few of them, but
yeah. Well, yeah, go ahead, man. You
Well,
can
ask away.
So well, obviously there's the what is it? Nagsasalita Tagalog.
What was that?
Sorry, I studied Tagalog, Filipino language.
I don't speak Tagalog. I speak only very poor. I speak American English and very poor Cuban Spanish. And my wife speaks Ilocos, Tagalog, Cebuano.
Oh wow!
And English. And I was sitting at the dinner table. I'm a good Jewish kid, but I grew up from a very, very reform group here. Everybody spoke English. Mm-hmm. So when I go to Israel, all my relatives laugh at me, and sometimes by tone I can tell what they're saying. I can hear the Hebrew. But we never spoke Hebrew even in the temple.
Oh,
very, very reformed. It became the American Ethical Society. So my relatives there laugh at me. Sometimes sitting at the tables in Russia, I can, by tone, I understand. But I was in Cebu when the only reason I went was because of my wife. I'd never been to Cebu, been all over the Philippines. And I'm sitting there. I have a hard time with Tagalog because, you know, as you know, if you speak it, they just keep adding syllables on. It makes no sense to me. So I'm sitting at the table. They're all talking. And I make a response. They all look at me and go, I thought you don't speak. And I'm thinking, like the 13th Warrior type thing. I went, oh, my God. I think I'm doing that. And then I realized Cebuano is bastardized Spanish because that's where the Spanish actually originally went, was in Cebu into the Visayas, you know, because the northern Philippines and the southern Philippines really have nothing to do with what we consider Filipino martial art. When we come is from the Visayas. So a lot of the modern Visaya language has Spanish in it, and Cebuano is just bastardized Spanish. So when the family wants me to understand, they speak Cebuano. You know, we were there for 60 years, they have Spanish. But anyways, ask me something in English. Otherwise, I'll stand here like when my wife asks me, and I'll stare at you and go, I don't know what you said. And, you know, when Remy came here, he taught us all in English and said, you know, we were required to learn American English. I'm in America, I'll speak English. And I got some people who do FMA or whatever the cultural, they try to learn the home language and speak pidgin, whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm an American. I speak American. So ask away, Chris.
You've mentioned a lot of Filipino martial arts. Have you ever met Ernie Reyes or Ernie Reyes Jr.?
I knew Ernie Reyes when he first started doing his tour back in the 80s when he would travel, because we sponsored with the group I was with the Mid-America Diamond Nationals. And he would come compete, and he would, do demos. And their demo teams were doing is they had learned either from Jimmy Tacosa, who's a very dear friend of mine, which was doing Serrata, or they did modern Arnis and were actually coming from Remy. And that's actually, I met Dan Anderson because he and Fred King were talking about some guy who was, they could see no fear in his eyes and they were banging with sticks and they were talking about Remy. And I watched Ernie Reyes Jr. grow up. So yes, awesome. My daughter is the same age. They were born about the same time. And we used to joke about that. I haven't been in touch with him for a long time, but yeah, people like, a lot of the martial artists were a pretty small world for that group. And I'm one of that small group, like Mike Carrick and I are both, and Dana Abbott, we put Mike and me for the same year. We're members of Black Belt Magazine's Hall of Fame. My instructor, Remy, was there as the instructor of the year and weapons instructor of the year. And there's only 15 weapons instructor of the years in 60 years of black belt. And I'm one of them. And it turns out modern East, which is technically considered a stick art, you know, the family art was actually about blade, the bolo. And that's what they taught the guerrillas to teach the Spanish. And of the four of us who are from Modern East, who are in Black Belt Magazine's Black Belt Hall of Fame, out of all of our, we're all the blade guys, including Remy himself. And we all laugh about it because everyone knows it as a stick art. But yes, Ernie Reyes actually is a Taekwondo system that picked up some of Remy's stuff because Remy were, taught in California. Remy was the first vagabond teacher. He's the one who started all the instructor camps and long distance learning because he had no base. He traveled around and he had the camps used to run 5 and 6 days. And I would travel from camp to camp and travel with him to learn. But he's the one who started all it and used to say, unlike other martial arts, Filipino martial arts, especially with Remy, as soon as you learn, you go teach. His idea, because he was a professor from Santo Tomas, was that you learn fastest by teaching. And I used to be amazed because in most martial arts classes, if you go to help someone next to you, you'd be in trouble. But in FMA is a very tribal way of doing it. And I said in the beginning, if you had actually heard me, Filipino martial arts, what we know is based on HEMA, historical European martial art, especially Spanish conquistador fighting with some Portuguese stuff stuck in the middle. And it's been blended with Chinese martial art, over there. But basically, it's why the rest of Asia hates them. They're 99% Catholic. They have been, from the 1500s on. And everything about them is Spanish because the way the Spanish conquered the world was they made everyone Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
They
like
didn't come in and have a Spanish group and everyone else. They intermarried. So they had pure Spanish married to the group, and then all the groups below them. That's why if you've ever, Shogun, the whole point of it as they're talking, the people who were sent to Spain and brought back to Japan, there's a whole group who, except for being Japanese by birth, they had no idea how to be Japanese. They were sent to Spain so they would come back and influence others. They were the influencers. They used to do that because Manila and the port of Cebu was New Spain. Mm-hmm. They're New Mexico and Spain, not New Mexico State, but New Mexico and the new port was still too far away. You couldn't order parts. So the way they controlled Shanghai and Japan and everything was they used the Philippines as their base where they built their ships, did everything else. And to make sure it was really Spanish, they would take Filipinos and send them to Spain. They'd be educated there and years later bring them back. And the Spanish were there for almost 400 years. When we teamed up with the British, when we helped throw them out for all the Spanish-American wars, the Brits took over in the Philippines for a bunch of time. And then we took over for 60 years. And after World War II, after we'd been there, after the war was over, after we'd been there almost 60 years, we set up their school system. By law, they have to learn American English. They have a constitutional republic based like ours. Their system, their school system, everything's set up like us. And they almost, unlike Puerto Rico, who can't get off the fence, took a vote. And by a very small margin, they became the Republic of the Philippines and not the 51st state. Mm-hmm. If you go there, and all of that, roundabout, to get back to what I was talking about, the martial arts there have nothing to do with the rest of Asia. The way we step, the way we move, it's all historical European fighting motions. It has nothing to do with any other Asian art, which don't use a clock system, which don't do stepping and quarters, that don't have our numbering system. And, even Filipino, what we accept as Filipino pajamas and fighting costumes, traditional wear are actually Spanish fighting vests, and stuff. It's not, has nothing to do, so it's like Kuntao Salat. Salat is body motion, and if you do penjak or pencat down in Indonesia and Malaysia, in that area, it's based on Chinese arts done by the people, and it's got all this flowery stuff to it. And Kuntao is how do I break you? It's actually Chinese arts done with a Filipino attitude of I'm in your face. People, what's the difference? Said Kuntao has none of this, snake, drag and reach behind their back and seek pearls and do whatever. We smash you with their hand and fist, and we kick you. And people, some Kuntao actually looks very karate-ish, and we joke about it. But the Philippines is one of the few things that never had in modern time, we're making it a sport. It was a fighting art, and it was used to protect the Philippines, and it has served them well. And there's, by the way, anything that's called arnis, it has to be after the Spanish, because before the Spanish, there was no such thing as arnis. Obviously, it's a Spanish word. There's no fight. They knew how to fight, but it has nothing to do with a systemized, and what we think of is like I said, we do bastardized Spanish fighting, mixed with a little Chinese arts thrown in there, because when you go just south of China, what you hit is the Philippines.
Yeah.
And, without the Philippines, it's the Pacific Ocean. It's not the Sea of China. The Philippines makes a big circle and stops the Pacific Ocean. There's 7,200 islands in the Philippines. And then you get through Malaysia, and then you go up Indonesia, and you make that big circle. Mm-hmm. But the Philippines, when you come out of southern China, because of the shape of the earth, you don't hit Luzon, the main island. You end up down in Cebu. And some of the earliest transactions between China and the Philippines is, down in the Visayas, the middle region. And everyone thinks my wife is Chinese. There's obviously Chinese blood in her family. People go, "Oh, I thought you married a Filipino." Except for her color of her skin, because she looks Filipino, but her eyes and everything. Excuse me, I didn't mean to burp. That comes from being old and drinking my Cafe Cubano. My wife Nova looks very Chinese, and my Chinese family, my extended family, go, "Oh, you married a Chinese in the Philippines?" And I went, "No, she's purebred Filipino, but obviously somewhere in her family's history, there's Chinese."
You are just. I thought it was just amazing, like your wealth of knowledge from history, geography, all over the place, and how everything just ties back into one another with what you do it's brilliant, man.
Well, I talked to Vinny when I said I'm a good Mensa kid. I never understood what that meant. My whole family, Mensa's the high IQ society, and my mother's driving me nuts with that. Because we have like many, it usually doesn't follow in generations. We have multiple generations of Mensans and 999 and Intellitel. In school, I'm in the 99.9th percentile. And as a kid, I didn't get that. And I'm like any other, almost next step up over me, I guess, is basically idiot savant. They can only do one thing well, they can't function. And I got bored very easily. If I like something, I'm very into it, which is obvious. I love cannabis, I love art, I love martial arts, and I love blades. And I like ancient history. Anything else, I'm a real dork about. I just can't do it. But my mom was even, I qualified for 999, which means you have to be 99.9 percentile to get it. And then, of course, Intellitel is 99.99%. People go, "You don't think like the rest of us." I said, "Actually, I don't. I have a very small head. My head is squeezed in there. It's sort of like, the more folds you have in your brain, the more surface area you have. Sort of like, Disney's cues. So, my mom used to joke about my small head with the brain switch in there gave me more. I have all these folds, and I'll do stuff and people go, "How did you get that out of what you saw and what you did?" I'm just blessed, and my brain doesn't think like other. I can't do math, for example. I can't do music. I suck at language. But if you give me geometric progressions, like when I did my Army battery test, when all the IQ tests, I can fold those weird boxes, and if you give me unfolded, I fold them because I can see it in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
I think that helps align martial arts and my art and whatever I do, building models, I'm an inventor. I make all sorts of handicap equipment, all sorts of cool stuff, but I can visualize it. And part of it comes from being, like I said, a good mental kid. If I can read, therefore I am.
That's true.
If you got a genius on the panel, and every time he says Doug Marcato, all I'm thinking is, "It will kill."
Yeah, Doug, I want to tell you, Doug is a very dear friend, and he uses my designs, and a lot of times because he's on set, I'll get calls at weird hours like, "Bram, are you awake?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for you, sure." And we'll joke because I knew him when he was a little kid training with his instructor, Bill McGrath, and Doug uses my designs for bunches of his stuff. Granted with the Doug innovation in it. And, Bastian Bastinelli, the French designer who now lives in America, knife designer, he's great friends with Doug, and they work on collaborations and tie my stuff into stuff. But yeah, I joke, when Doug started doing his morning coffee, that's because of Bram doing his morning Cafe Cubano. My shirt here from one of my students that has Cafe Cubano, yes, Cup of Joe's, no. And then when I put on the robot costume and become the cyborg Bram, that's when Doug started fighting the Bobs and doing all the weird stuff rather than just, "I will kill on the set of Forged in Fire." So, John and Jay and the rest, I'll see them at the Blade Show, and at my booth at the Blade Show, Doug will always come. And Doug has filmed some great videos of us together and of my system, of my knives. And yeah, Doug's cool.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I saw some of on YouTube. I think there's still some of that stuff too, like at the knife shows with you and him.
He filmed. I had them do 6 videos of me that are on his YouTube channel.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Real quick, I want to say hello to Tommy as well. Tommy, the Guinea Pig Collective. Yeah, man, all's well. I hope you're doing okay too. He's also I co-host a show with him on Thursdays over on his channel, Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective, where it's collectible pass with 2 guinea pigs. But we have a good time. We talk toys and all that great stuff. But yeah, see, and that's the thing. Yeah, like Adega was saying it from the chat. He was, yeah, we're all a little weird. Yeah, I think so. Yep. It keeps things interesting, right? And what inspires us? What's just things that we like in general too, and how it affects our lives and what we do, how we create all that great stuff. My channel, that's what I always want to keep pushing, is the positivity in what we're doing here and how we make things better. It's by putting out better things for everyone, and we're going to keep doing that as much as we could. Red Gaze, he's got a fantastic project. He's been fulfilling. I showed it before, when we started. He's fulfilling Sunswarm right now as we speak. He's got to be close to done, I think, right?
Yeah, man. Actually, I got a ton of packages sitting downstairs right now that just need labels.
Look at these beautiful. Yeah, just the labels are such a pain in the ass, but fantastic. This is my. Oh, which one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. This one was my cover. Yeah, sorry, it's mirrored over here. This one's Katie's cover. There's also the black and white edition. Absolutely amazing work in here. And yeah, he goes above and beyond with everything. There's prints, there's stickers, cards, button, the works. So if you haven't supported Red Gaze yet, this is the comic book. This is kind of a standalone story that's in between the novels. Highly recommend this, especially if you want something amazing, something that's going to replace, what's going on right now, like Star Wars felt to shit. Well, this is the replacement. I'd say to that. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like if you're into space opera, like this will be your jam. I can guarantee you that, because I'm very much into space opera, and that's why this was the first project out the gate. And much like Chris, this came from a world of role playing that I created for players. just kind of took that setting that's been sitting on the shelf for years, dusted it off, gave it some fine tuning, revamped it a little bit, created some characters, and we were off to the races with the story. And yeah, now it's just an ever-growing universe. I got 2 trilogies mapped out that are going to be novels, and I figured, why not do some comics in between? I want to see some visual representation of this world, because I'm surrounded by artists all the time, and I love seeing what you guys do. And I really wanted to see the universe of Sunsworn with my own eyes. It's a totally different experience reading a novel, and forming these images in your head, and having a comic in front of you where the characters are kind of laid out for you. But to each their own. Everybody likes different things. Some like both. I like both. So let's do both. Let's do it all. That's what I'm all about.
Man. That's what we got to do here. Like I said, just keep putting out the best that you can put out. What makes you happy, the stories you want to tell. Chances are there's going to be a good number of people who want to read those same stories or that are looking for something similar. That's why I jump all over the place too with those different genres of all the projects I'm doing. You guys know it. Campaign number 6, Shadow of the Kraken. This is my pirate story. I should have it done by the first quarter, 2022, because I'm almost done with the pencils and inks, and then I have just like maybe between 10 and 12 pages to paint from that point. We're almost there. We're getting there, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what I'm doing, where the story is going to go. It centers around our main character, Nathaniel James Callan. He goes from part of the Royal Navy to piracy, and what happens and how he got into that situation. From there, where it's going to go, the discovery of this mysterious skull that has multiple maps carved into it, but it's also coded, so it's not just like a straight, I got the map. No. There's more going on here, and you're going to find out, who that skull belonged to, who did this throughout the series. This is going to be 52 pages. I might still squeeze in a page or 2 more in there, but I want to make sure you guys have just one hell of a story for this first issue. There is going to be a supernatural element in here as well, but I based a lot of this on reality first. So that way, that backdrop, everything's more tangible in this world. It's more believable. And then we have those other elements that's going to show up in this series. I do hope it's something that you guys are going to be very, very happy in getting. We have beautiful women, beautiful locations. We have extreme violence and fights in here, ship battles. I got a great white shark eating somebody here. This is a book that's going to take you places. But hell yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see this. And yeah, we have the brothel, so you're going to have beautiful women in there as well. One of our main characters is also one of the leads. Another nice piece of eye candy, but also a great character in the story that I think you guys are going to be fully invested into anyway, because where I'm going with them, the backstories that I have, the villain that's pursuing the main characters and what his motivations are, what he's doing. I'm showing a little bit of everything. I'm not shying away from the slavery. That's going to be in the book as well. Like I said, I'm just trying to put everything that around that time and how they kind of survived. I want to show people a little bit of those elements while we're telling a really killer story. So again, you have more of that backdrop into that world, but yeah, it's a ton of work, but I can't wait to get into you guys' hands. I really can't wait. But yeah, it's looking great. I'm going to have to do the update soon. I keep forgetting to, because I've been working till like 3 a.m. every night. But yeah, we're making up for some lost time during the day as well. Because don't forget, I'm still doing freelance work as well. So that's the only thing that's slowing this up a little bit. But like I said, I'm still on track. All 5 of my other projects were either on time or delivered early. This is campaign number 6. And again, it's supposed to be fulfilling next month. But again, I'm just going to be a little bit behind. But it's there. Like I said, we are definitely there. So yeah, I can't wait. And in the meantime, if you guys want to continue to support these projects, I have City of Venus, the 2 art books, and Through the Woods available, and these ship immediately. So, yo, Chris got his what today?
Yeah, check it out. Let me get this out.
Yeah. Oh man, he's got that great spinner.
Oh
You're
yeah.
kidding. You're getting all the great books now.
Oh yeah, I got them all.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Hardcover. And then these are the new babies that arrived. So
That's right. Hell yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Dude, your support is huge. Everyone's support, everyone who's backed these books and enjoyed these stories, left me great comments. I can't thank you guys and girls enough. You're all absolutely amazing people, and we're going to make sure we're going to keep getting these amazing books in your hands. You know, it's going to be the best of the best. That's how we roll over here, you know? Let me see. King of the Squibs, Shadow of the Kraken in 2 words. Stabby, stabby. A little bit. But actually, what's kind of interesting, too, is I'm going to be implementing a little bit of some of the Bram stuff into future projects as well. There's something I'm working on well, not right now, but I had to put on hold for a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be incorporating a little bit of some stuff. That's all I can say right now. But it's going to be cool. It's a project with Frankie. It's the one that's going to be after City of Venus too. I have my next projects lined up. So yeah, I'm going to finish Shadow of the Kraken. City of Venus 2 is going to get done, and then is another project with Frankie, which is going to be killer. Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see that one. Something real special in the works on that. But yeah, I do have a number of pages that have been penciled out on that particular project. But again, it'll be coming. But hell yeah! So yeah, we also have, like I said, other great people here. Matt, well, you guys know him as Towboard TV over on Twitter as well. Are you there, buddy?
Yes. Hey.
Hey, there you
No,
are.
I've been listening to the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some amazing stuff that I did not expect to hear tonight from Bram.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Bram
Incredible.
He's so amazing on every level, from just who he is as a person, then his background. You know, everything is it's killer, man. That's why we got to have Bram on more often, because people love you, man. People love you.
Thank you for your service, dude.
You're welcome. It's something that, you know, I'm just blessed to be able to do. And in lots of ways, because I'm not a sworn officer and not a sworn military person, you know, my blessing is I get to leave. But the other side of it is, you know, when they first came to me and asked me, they said, "Are you a patriot?" You know, my handler, and I went, "Yeah, of course." And I said, "I bleed red, white, and blue. I bleed blue for law enforcement, and I bleed, you know, green for the U.S. Marine Corps, as they say." And, you know, and it started from there, you know, because I did martial arts when most people didn't. As my friends, because I'm Vietnam era, as friends continued on, they either, when they left from that generation, either became police or military. They came to me and said, "Do you still do martial arts?" I said, "Yes." "Would you come teach our guys?" And so for a long time, I became one of the first independent contractors, and, you know, had cleared clearances because I had always taught them, and people brought me in and out. And it's just, I'm lucky, because where I get sent, when I'm done with my job, I can go home. A lot of our guys can't go home. But I'm happy that a lot of the guys, and when I say guys, men and women who I've trained, tell me that either my training, my knives, and or both have either saved their lives, their spouses' lives, or their team members' lives. And you can't get any better than that.
That is awesome.
You know, and I believe in, you know, I swore to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I believe in our constitutional republic, and I believe in freedom. And you know, I'm a good Jewish kid, you know. It'll never happen. My grandparents made sure both said it will never happen again. Not on my watch. You know, I go after and teach people to go after the sex traffickers, because I find that horrific. I deal with guys who deal with the cartels, but my biggest thing is, I have to deal with extremists and fundamentalists, which is, I think, a cancer on the face of the earth, because they'll kill us all. And when they're done, they'll kill each other because they don't agree
Right.
with each other about how, it's like, and you guys will get it. When I grew up, the cartoons, like, Looney Tunes, you had the Hatfields and the McCoys, on Looney Tunes, going after the revenuers. And of course, when they get rid of the revenuers, they go after each other again.
Yeah, they hate each other.
They hate each other completely. And, and Vinny knows I'm on a very short leash on most of the social media sites, because of what I say and what I believe. And, and they make it very clear that if I don't watch what I say, they'll actually, Facebook as a group owns 87 social media sites. And most people think some of the other sites, when they're past Instagram and Facebook, aren't controlled by them, but they are. And I've had warnings of, we will make you cease to exist. I live on the internet, with my knives and my training. And with COVID, I was back in 2015, I started doing Zoom lessons. People once said, well, Zoom lessons have become, Skype have become Zoom.
Sure.
You have to pardon me, I'm old. It's technically, I'm in bed by this time resting, because I'm on a 24-hour clock. It's because of the time change. It's 11:30 in the morning in the Philippines, and my wife and family don't get there's a time difference. So very shortly, my phone lights up on Messenger. And, I'm up Vinny's up all night working. I'm no longer up all night working. I'm up all night dealing with people on the side of the world, especially my family.
Yeah.
And, so I wear out. But yes, I do my best to serve. And like I said, they came to me and said, are you a patriot? And that's how I lost a whole block of years of my life. Because yes, I will do anything to protect those, might for right. You got to protect those that need protecting. And a lot of people who want to open their mouths and say stupid things, sometimes I try to remind them politely that if it wasn't for people like me, they wouldn't be here protected by the First Amendment to be able to say those stupid things.
Rough men.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and that's why, man, all that cancel culture bullshit, everything that's been going on is a plague, And if you want to support somebody who's helped so many people, again, Bram is one of those ones. He helped protect the world on so many different levels with his knowledge and his teachings. If you want to help support him, pick up one of these amazing knives. You could at least do that for sure.
Vinny said they're handmade. I'm a small business. I want you to know I have gotten no help during COVID. I have lots of friends who've lost their knife companies, their martial arts stuff. I'm just blessed that I've got people like Vinny, and I do, I convince people one person at a time, to use my products for, I make useful tools. I make edge tools. They're matter separators. They're designed to do a job. I don't make fighting knives, and I don't teach knife fighting. I teach self-defense response with an edge tool.
Exactly. And you also, the crimp that you have here as well. This is just amazing tool. Tell them a little bit about this too.
Oh, the crimped. I'll just lean out of frame for a second. Hold on. A crimp, which is blue, is one of my coolest designs. Of course, it kinetically opens. The blade is jimped. It cannot cut skin, but it's made to grab fabric. It's an impact rescue tool because you can break out windshields and side glass. You can break out side glass or windshields, and it's designed that I can pull the shards out. I cannot cut a human being with it, but I can cut seatbelts. I can cut the laminate in a windshield. I can cut your clothing, cut your pockets down, and I can bring it out. And if my security guys use it because we can't carry mag lights, the big flashlights anymore. Because if you hit someone, that's a crime. But with this, I can be up close and personal. I can give you an attitude adjustment. I can lock you up. I can use it as a search tool, and I can search your pockets. I can put it behind your knee and make you walk down. I can put you in a cuff position. And whether I'm in forward or reverse grip, I can trap and make it work. So when I came up with this, and I try to get my police and all my security guys to it, and lots of departments use it, this is a mini expandable baton. And because it works like a firearm, firearms grip, And the lock release, I don't know the patent on the lock. It's a dovetail joint of steel that goes into the blade, makes it a solid piece. When it's out of battery in front of your eyes, you can decock it back. You can rack the slide, or say drop it down, drop the magazine and right back down. It's a full force, non-lethal impact rescue tool. Gary Johnson of Shooter's Toolbox said it's the best non-lethal tool in your toolbox. But with this, I don't have to cut anybody. And if you have a knife, I can use it like a knife. It won't cut you, but I can intercept. I can do those same motions and move it away. A lot of my rescue guys will use it. We have to lift people's parts and do whatever, and we don't want to touch them. Like I said, I cut flex cuffs. I grew up outside of New York, so we always had that old reinforcement glass, the wires inside the glass. I can actually cut that wire. I can break down doors with this. I keep it in my car. I have all my guys, it sits on our seatbelt. I have this is the Magnum. It's easier to see. I make a stance, but it's on my seatbelt. So if something have, oxygen mask on yourself first, I free myself. I can break out the side glass and go after the windshield. If you ever broken out a windshield, you'll understand modern ones are laminates, glass on both sides. People make glass breakers and they go, what do you do with those shards? So, this has been designed to grab, and I can pull the shards of glass out, cut the laminate, and go back through, and then I can rescue, my passenger. But my crimp tool, which is close range control response, medium impact tool, as my mom said, I was out teaching St. Louis police in Ferguson, and if they had been using this, we wouldn't have a dead Michael Brown, but I won't get into that. He was a strong-armed robber, and he had already, that's why they went after him. He had already robbed someplace and beat the guy up. So when the police went after him and his buddy, but the crimp tool is my best, the coolest thing I've ever invented. My mom loved it. She said, "Oh my God, you went all the way back to non-lethal, and you could stop people who have guns and knives." I said, yes. And in today's crowd, where people get in your face, if you cut them, if you shoot them, if you hurt them, you can be in trouble with this. You can just pop it up. People can't see with all their cameras, and someone grabs you, you can give them an attitude adjustment. You can get away from the crowd with a crimp tool. It's one of my coolest tools.
Frank, you said, yes, I believe that's the tool Bram used to turn me into a pretzel in 20 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you meant 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But this was one of the first ones that I got from you as well, and I carried this with me a lot of different times.
As Vinny said, you can carry it places where you're not allowed knives. It's not a knife. To be a knife, it has to have a blade that cuts, and there's no cutting edge on this. It can't cut anything. So I tell people, so that's why a lot of my EP guys carry it, my executive protection, because there's places they need to be able, like you got an over-enthusiastic fan who won't stop shaking your hand. Well, we just use it to, we'll come and put it in the wrist, and we'll make just casually stop them from shaking hands and go, thank you very much. We need to move on. And, because you can't be around cutting, killing, shooting, smacking people, we use it as a physical attitude adjustment tool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, like I said, another great creator, Matt, he's actually working on a video game here. So I want to give Matt a chance to show this off as well. And I think Bram would enjoy this. It's inspired by Conan.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I am making a barbarian-themed pulp sword and sorcery video game. But
cool.
But I'll talk over this and stuff, and you guys can just watch the the carnage. But a lot of great Frank Frazetta talk and pulp in general that I've been hearing you guys go over tonight, which is absolutely my wheelhouse, obviously. But speaking of Patriots, we have I have a friend who's a very good friend of the family, along with his fellow Green Beret. Both of them are currently being held in a Venezuelan prison right now.
Oh.
You had brought up earlier kind of being left high and dry by the government, and these guys are kind of getting the same treatment right now. They joined a friend of theirs that they served with, who got a private military contract. This is the first one any of them had ever done, too. They turned down tons of them, but this one they believed in, training Venezuelans to attempt to, take back their country, essentially. But at some point, something went sideways. They were infiltrated, and upper management, we'll call it, was tweeting out the operation as it was happening, which is just insane, ridiculous. You imagine if we had Twitter in World War II, right? And
yeah. Jeez.
We're telling the Nazis where we're landing. It's just so nobody knows what's going on. These guys are currently being held over there, but we're his brother, who I'm very good friends with too. We had to start a nonprofit organization to help raise awareness and to get things like distribution chains to get stuff like food to these guys, because apparently they're being held as political prisoners. Apparently Maduro wants to let these guys go, but there's silence over here from the U.S., so I don't know. It's weird.
Well, our current administration, for example, doesn't like the fact that a lot of us like freedom, and we left an awful lot of our team guys behind in Afghanistan. And I have guys who like the Pineapple Express and other people who, on their own, obviously breaking the law, but are going there to go rescue people.
Yes, yeah.
Been left behind.
Yeah.
So no, I understand. And there's places, in many levels, especially with the current group in there, they have no respect for any of us who are doing anything. And if we don't fit their little agenda, we're cannon fodder. We're expendables.
Yeah. When you were talking about that earlier, that kind of resonated right now. And these guys have families and friends over here that are like, we don't know what's going on, and they're just being met with silence.
Yeah, exactly. And they act like somehow we, the people doing it, have done something wrong, and we haven't done anything wrong. We're doing what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. We're supporting freedom. We're trying to save people's lives. And
Absolutely.
It's like it's like the worst comic story of all, and you read the heroes getting beat up, and like Civil War. Oh, you guys need to get rid of your identities, secret, and tell us who you are, and we're going to have an oversight committee for superheroes. Are you freaking nuts? It's hard enough to do the right thing without someone looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And when things go wrong, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I got my payday. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And the scary part is that the same stuff we do, if we get told to do it by them, then it's okay. Mm-hmm. But if we're doing it, it's not okay.
Hmm. Until something happens and somebody gets found out and they don't want anyone else to know about it, then they know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like I love the movie and the book all about Shooter, when at the end when he goes, look, Abu Ghraib, it's not that the stuff didn't happen. It's just the people in power don't want to talk about that it happened, and they don't want to admit that it happened. So you get rid of the low-level people on the ground who went, you need to do this. Okay, why? You need to do this to protect our freedoms. Okay. Oh, why'd you do it? But you told me. No, we didn't. We had no idea. Oh, my God.
You guys are just a bunch of wacky cowboys all going off on your own.
Hey, that first thing with Blackwater, very dear friends of mine. You know what? Over here, it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. Over there, you can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. And most people we call good guys, it's a shade of gray. The only reason the good guys is they hate the bad guys as much as we do. And if you give them a chance, Hatfield and McCoy's, they're going to shoot us anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. I feel for your friends.
It's a sad situation.
If you look up on Facebook, Mike Turber, have the guys. Mike is former DOD, and he's open about it. He posts it. He's always trying to help rescue people for real. So since when this little group, check out Mike on Facebook and send him a note. Say you talked to me and just tell him your story. Maybe he can.
Okay. Mike Turber.
Turber, Turber, Turber.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Much appreciated.
He's very serious and has arranged many rescues in other places. And we'll leave it at that.
Beautiful, man. Hell yeah. I hope he could help. And yeah, Matt, if you want to drop any links too, to get people to be more aware of this as well.
Sure.
Feel free to, man. Go for it.
Yeah. Barbarian Games and Green Berets, I guess.
Yeah. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Right. Gentlemen, I know, Vinny,
Yes.
I hate to do this to you guys.
No, it's perfectly okay, man. I know you got to get going, but
I'm old. I joke with Vinny about, that I'm almost 70, and sometimes like I said, I have a 24-hour clock. I haven't even eaten dinner yet, and I'm a good diabetic kid. Occasionally,
man.
And an asthmatic, I heard you say.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So am I.
Asthma. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Bram,
between the asthma and I had a little bout with lung issues of lung cancer, and
Oh, Jesus.
so and I had wasting syndrome, Vinny. I went from 250 to 140 pounds.
Oh.
And it took a lot out of me. And Vinny knows I put on 10 pounds.
yes.
I'm doing good over the bit. I've lost a lot of muscle mass, but every once in a while I burn out, and I can just feel wearing out a little. So if you will all forgive me, I want to thank you, Vinny, and everybody been so kind to me. I appreciate it. Like I said, on bramfrank.pivotshare.com, you can download lots of free videos and stuff that I've done or seen, whatever, if you want to. Like I said, there's lots of weird stuff about me on YouTube and whatever. And then my site, as Vinny's saying, at cssd-se.com. Please, there's histories, there's stories about the knives, for my other tools. And please, if they would help you do your art or everyday projects you want to carry, an edge tool, like I said, it's from one artist to another. They're not like anything else out there. And again, I thank you all for what you do. Without comic artists and sci-fi artists and the whole bit and the whole genre, I would not be who I am. So you guys have my great respect. Like I said, Vinny's one of my favorite artists and storytellers. I have Vinnie art everywhere. I have Vinnie books. I am a big Vinnie believer, and that carries over to all of you. And when I'm at the shows, Vinny's always going, look at this, look at this. Believe me, I do pay attention, and I want to thank all of you for being so kind and having me on.
Bram,
Please come back.
Much love. Yes, you're invited back anytime. You know that, brother. If you want to come on earlier as well, on Fridays I have an earlier stream as well. It's only about an hour, but again, you're always welcome to come on, my friend. We love you. And we hope everybody here, I dropped the link again, so if anybody wants to back and
I also make tactical fixed blades for Thanksgiving, so you can show off and have fixed blade carbon knives that look tactical.
Yeah. And Frankie said he wants you to have a good night as well. And
Okay.
Stay well. Exactly, man. Nothing but love for you, your family, and everyone who's fighting right now, the good fight.
Go carve some tyrannical turkeys.
That's right.
Yeah, there you
Go
go.
make a sandwich or something, Bram. Eat something, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to go make something before I tell Nova, and she goes, "What do you mean you talked with Vinny all this time and didn't eat?" Anyway,
Yes, don't get me in trouble with the wife.
Yeah.
Nakakaza!
Thank you. My love and respect to all of you, and I'll talk to you the next time. Thank you
You
very
got it,
much.
my friend.
Thanks,
Okay,
Bram.
See you
have a
again, Bram.
great
Bye,
night.
Bram.
Okay, bye-bye.
But again, great dude. Like I said, he is a living legend. Just a beautiful person. And one of the most dangerous men on the planet. I'm proud to call him my friend, my family.
Six
but
Semper
yes.
Turcanus.
Yeah.
What a great show.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yes, and again, Adega as well. I brought you on here because he's got some great products here. He's also a writer, so if everyone missed out on this, don't miss out. You could back his projects here. Adega, if you want.
Those own projects, you get the download right away. That's
right
all
there.
digital.
Bam.
Nice.
Instant. Instant. You want some great stories?
It used to be handheld for one of them, but it'll come again.
Oh, good, man. Good. Yeah, I know you were talking about that you want to, get it printed again. Dude, yeah, just let us know when, and always happy to push it for you as well.
I'm just here for the good company and a great show. Seriously, that guy's
Thank
awesome.
you, man. Well, dude, yeah, I saw you in the chat. I'm like, oh, you're always great to come on anyway. That's why I just dropped you in like that. Like I said, good people we got here. So everyone who showed up tonight, I want to thank each and every one of you. And again, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to put out the best for you guys and girls. Show you great people with amazing stories. That's just what we do. So thank you each and everyone for being here. Please make sure to support all these fantastic projects. Infinitel Chronicles. You could still get we got 98 left if you want the standard edition. But if you want to get the digital, you could get that as well. So please jump on this wonderful project. Red is fulfilling right now as we speak. He's going to be making some labels. This is just great, man. Just on so many levels. Super proud of you. And yeah, I can't wait for the next project, man.
Well, thank you, man. I can't wait either. I can't wait to get these out the door. To be quite honest, because I really want to move on to the next project.
Yes.
Got projects galore on the horizon. Closed on Bonds last night, by the way. I think it might still be live. The only thing left there is digital. So if you still want one, go grab one. But yeah, definitely hop on Sunstorm because this isn't going to last much longer either. I got shit to do.
That's right. Yeah. Anyone who's got a wrench, go ahead. Drop the link for Bonds as well if it's still active. Definitely go for it. We all love Katie here as well. And before I do close this out, I wanted to tell people I have a friend here who I knew her from the convention scene. She's a great person. She's fighting cancer right now. So if you guys could help support in any way, please do. I'm going to drop the link in there as well. Yeah, she's a great person. Very talented in a lot of the costumes and stuff she's made. Just an overall great individual, and it breaks my heart to see this. I found out tonight, actually. So if you want to say a big fuck you to cancer and you want to help out, her medical bills are kind of insane right now. So any help that you guys could do, please, the link is there. I just dropped it in the chat. So if you want to help out,
there's been so much bad news this year. Can we try to get some good stuff going on for the new year?
Yes,
unprecedented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about it. So if you guys could help, that would be great. We want some good news for a change. Sure. Absolutely. So back Bram. Again, you have so many different knives you can choose from here. Trainers, those are the ones that are in red. So if you just want to practice and figure out how it kind of works.
I want to turn people into pretzels.
You want to turn people into pretzels? You do that as well. The crimped, a great tool. Again, keep it in your car in case of an emergency. It helps you get the seatbelt off, break a window, whatever. All great stuff there. And then if you want just some beautiful, artistic, fantastic, functional, tactical knives, you got them here as well, or tools rather. You can do that. Like I said, I have I got a bunch of them, and they are beautiful, absolutely stunning. Here's show you as well. I mean, Graham was showing you all night anyway, but these things are epic. So get your hands on them, and help out a true hero. A hero, a legend in the martial arts community.
We write about heroes, but Bram actually is one.
Yes, yes. Like, and that's the cool thing about all
no
this
Frank
stuff, right?
Dukes.
Yeah. There you go. There's Bonds as well. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, everyone who's been showing up here tonight. Frankie knows. Everybody in here. Tommy. We'll start shooting through some of these. We'll plan to where he's here as well.
Mr. Rolled Gold over there.
Yeah.
Vinny, real quick, could you recreate that whole Frankie getting turned into a pretzel thing and post it on your channel?
Yeah. That could be pretty good, right? That'd be fantastic.
Make the Transformer sound.
You know what? Maybe next time I go over and visit Bram, maybe we should do something. They could report something possibly. I'll talk to him. But Metal Movies and Brewski, thank you for being here. Pale Rider, he says that he is pretty amazing. All right, God bless you, my friend. You are. King of the Squibs, maybe Human. Who else would we have in here today? Chris is here. My sketchbook, 340. Tim Possible. Sorry, I missed your question. I had it up for a while, but I didn't want to interrupt Bram. He was going on a good tangent. But yeah, Adega, yeah, you're here too, buddy. Felix, I said, yeah, again, thank you again for dropping all those links. I know there was some people earlier. Miss Rena, 24 Eyes, Nano Reaper, Keely Chow, Mogwai Centurion. Yes, thank you, everybody. You guys all rock. And everyone who's watching this on the replay, again, if you can, at least retweet some of the stuff out. Every little bit helps. Yeah, just thank you 1,000 times over. Thank you. Please have a great night, everyone. And remember, be kind to one another. Be kick-ass while you create. We'll be over on ETEP's channel, the place to be reviews, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. And then we got a bunch of other great lineup of streams on a lot of different channels. But we'll be dropping links everywhere regardless. Thank you, everyone, and good night.